the whole world will know her name because she's a fucking movie star. Maxxxine comes to us from A24 and writer-director Ty West, and this is the finale of his trilogy that began with X. X gonna give it to you. Holy shit, this was full of grindhouse fun. X gonna give it to you, which begat Pearl, and actually technically since Pearl was an extraordinary origin story, it really should be Pearl and then X, but X came out before Pearl, so you know what? Nevertheless, we had Pearl, we had X, and this is the finale of that trilogy, which makes sense because if you try to have a fourth movie in a trilogy, then it's a quadrilogy, wherever the hell that goes, and you're not ending up with the trilogy label. So yes, Pearl, the origin story, and then you had X, which featured Maxxxine Minx, played by Mia Goth. And yes, in case you can't tell by the covers, Mia Goth was in both of these. And she also is continuing the Maxxxine Minx arc in Maxxxine. Fitting, considering the name of the character. This is taking place in 1985. If man, woman, animal, vegetable, or mineral are still alive, she's in Hollywood trying to make it big. She's still in the adult film entertainment industry, much like she was when X happened. And then she gets a big break, being able to be part of a horror sequel, The Puritan 2, Electric Boogaloo. And basically, she is bound determined to make it big. But unfortunately, there is something from her past that is gonna haunt her, continue to goddamn haunt her, and she must solve this mystery before her Hollywood career is history. Maxxxine Tales, woohoo! So, for those of you that have been following the channel for a while, I happen to love A24 movies. I own quite a few of them. I need to buy a few more. I usually have A24 movies up in the upper echelon of my favorite movies of the last few years. Waves was one of my favorite movies of the 2010s. And I loved X, I love Pearl. I recently rewatched them in preparation for Maxxxine. I was able to see a special screening of this, and I was stoked. I was fucking bloody stoked. I have watched too much British, TV and too many British horror movies. Nevertheless, I drove nearly 40 goddamn miles to go to a theater that happened to be showing a special screen of Maxxxine, and it was a packed theater. I was excited. It started right away. See the A24 logo, and immediately you notice that Ty West is absolutely diving into the 80s cheese. This actually does look like it was plucked out of the 80s with the grainy feel, kind of like what he did for X. And Maxxxine trying to make it big on this movie set. And it's a little bit, a little bit gritty, a little bit slashy, because there's also the Night Stalker, which if you know anything about your, killer history, the Night Stalker actually was somebody legitimate. Look it up, folks. You'd be surprised. And he is killing some, young ladies, and unfortunately, everybody that's involved, even in the periphery of the entertainment industry, is on edge. The cops are investigating, but also Maxxxine starts to get hints that somebody, may actually know what happened at the end of X. And if you haven't seen X, by the way, I do want to say you're not going to have a goddamn clue what's going on here. Do you need to see Pearl to see this movie? No. Does it help if you see it? Yes, because you get to see, Mia Goth at the peak of her goddamn powers, really doing some great stuff there. So watch Pearl, watch X, and then you just have more of an appreciation for the story arc there, and it continues here. And I do want to say that the rest of the cast actually is quite good as well, but let's get back to that 80s aesthetic. Goes with the slasher motif. There's some nice, grindy, gritty, techno color feel to it. There's a lot of drug usage, shrieking Gino Hernandez noises. Well, not so much now. If you get it, you get it. And also we get, a lot of stuff where people were protesting the fact that Hollywood was just becoming so sleazy in the 80s. Let's be honest, there were some sleazy horror movies and some sleazy movies in general, but nevertheless. So, Elizabeth Debicki is in this. She was in Guardians of the Galaxy. She plays the director, Elizabeth Bender. Bite her. Never mind. Let's just move on from that, possible, issue that could get me in trouble. Moses Sumney plays Leon Green, who's a friend of Maxxxine, who also works at a video store. Yes, VHS has actually existed back in the 80s, kids. I know. It's hard to goddamn believe. Michelle Monaghan, who is in Gone, Baby Gone, Baby's Gone, It's Gone, It's Gone, The Baby's Gone, plays a detective, and Bobby Cannavale, who was recently in Ezra, that was a movie that was all right. He was pretty good in it. He plays Detective Torres. Then you have the incredibly gorgeous Lily Collins with a brief role here. You have Halsey, who I know is a singer. She's heading straight to the castle. I know that she also had a recent health diagnosis that has, that she shared, and I feel bad for her, and hopefully she can get over that. She has a brief role in this too. Giancarlo Esposito is a name I had not heard in a while. He's fun. And Kevin Bacon is having a blast during his scenes here. So yeah, it's full of 80s cheese, full of 80s ridiculousness. And from there, we have the finale of this trilogy. So, I want to know in the comments which one you guys prefer. Did you think Pearl is better? Did you think X is better? Do you think this is better? I really want to know. Because I will say that, there are positives to this movie. Quite a few positives, as you would expect from an A24 movie. Even when A24 movies don't hit the exact goddamn mark, they usually offer some pretty good things. And Mia Goth is phenomenal in this. Okay, there is the thing about what she may have done to an extra on set, and if true, that's a piece of shit thing to do. But as far as what she did on set, or as far as what she did on camera, she really is fucking phenomenal. It's one of the reasons I got this goddamn sweet t-shirt, this Barbie-style Pearl t-shirt. And I did love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is pretty goddamn good. You're My Obsession by, I think it's Human Nature. I'm trying to remember what the name of the band is, but some really, really good stuff here. And the 80s fashion is very nice, and there are some good scenes in this. And some good performances. Mia Goth, Giancarlo are the best of them. None of the other characters are really given a bunch to do, and this does have some nice social commentary about how women do have to work harder. Brush off the stigma of being in adult films and working twice as hard, harder than men would have to succeed, and starting low and building high. And there are some neat little moments that sort of remind me of a bit of Scream 2 and Scream 3. This is where I kind of maybe get, not necessarily spoiler heavy, but there were vibes from Scream 2, Scream 3, as far as the Hollywood commentary, and as far as certain things on movie sets and stuff like that. So now let's talk about how I felt about it. This is the weakest of the trilogy. I'm just going to say that right there. It has plenty of good moments. It has some great, comedy, especially one particular sequence in Alleyway that I'll talk about in the spoiler section. And Mia Goth is very good. The problem is this feels a bit tonally inconsistent. Some of the characters just feel like they're thrown in there just as a way to say, see, we're making fun of all this stuff that happened in the 80s in these films. And it feels like Ty West kind of was spinning his wheels a few times. Now, I did really like this movie at times. I just didn't like it as much as X and Pearl. And I would be perfectly honest, I would put Pearl just above X. And I would say the Maxxxine is the weakest of the trilogy. Now, even though there are issues that I have with it, I recommend that you guys check this out. It is very enjoyable. And there are some good quotes in it. And it does pull a Scream 3 tying back to something in the past, which I know that the movie probably wasn't trying for a big grand twist, but the whole idea of who is behind all this felt, while it made sense, it felt lazy, and it also raised more questions than anything else. And it also felt like it was trying to add more layers to a story that honestly I think was trying to add too many layers when it didn't need to. It tried to have that meta commentary not always hitting. The comedy did hit enough, but it didn't always hit. Esposito was pretty funny in this and the few scenes he had. And Mia Goth, again, very, very good, but there were issues that I had with it. Like just pacing and the fact I felt it really stumbled in the third act, which goes to Scream 2 comparison, and even Scream 3. So yeah, it's good. It has some great moments, but I can't necessarily say it's it's right in the upper echelon of my favorite movies of the year, and I really wanted to like this more than I did. That being said, if you liked X and Pearl, check this out. Your mileage may vary. There were people that seemed to enjoy this one more than I did, and that's great. There were some that didn't seem to enjoy it at all, at least with the screening that I saw. So I'm going to get into spoilers, but again, Mia Goth, 80s aesthetic. and some of the cast pretty good, but not enough people were given enough to do, and it felt a little messy. So 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. It's her dad. It's her dad. That's who's behind the whole goddamn thing. Remember at Pearl and Howard's house, when they had the TV on and you had the televangelist guy that was talking about his daughter, and it was revealed that Pearl, or not Pearl, but Maxxxine was his daughter. Well, he's gone on the search for her, and he hired Kevin Bacon, who was a detective from Louisiana, to investigate and find her. And he does, and he sends a tape, and this tape has the rough cut. It was from the police evidence, when the police collected all that stuff after all the fucked up shit happened, after Maxxxine ran over Pearl's head and was the sole survivor of the whole thing. You have to wonder what she was up to in the interim, obviously doing porn, but okay, it was only a few years, it is what it is. But somehow her dad got the tape, or the cop got, or the private investigator, Kevin Bacon, got the tape, sent it to her, and the people being killed, by the way, Halsey ends up meeting an unfortunate end, a blonde also meets an end, Lily Collins meets an unfortunate end. It was all because her dad was trying to save them. They didn't want to be saved, but he feels he can save his daughter. And issues I have with that, though, he does a peep show. He watches a peep show with his daughter on the other side. Now, yeah, you could make the comments about, televangelists and a lot of religious people being repressed nut jobs and idiots and everything. That's a little bit weird. There's also the thing in the very beginning that I didn't want to spoil until I got to this section, where they show a black and white video of Maxxxine doing her dance and everything, and the dance even channeling what Pearl did, which is pretty goddamn nice. That was pretty cool. But she said, "I will not accept a life I do not deserve." And then that ties back to that. And yes, it is all about Maxxxine trying to get away from her past, and I get that. And Maxxxine is not, is anything but, somebody without flaws. She has a lot of flaws. It makes sense why they would go that route, but it felt messy trying to get there. Michelle and, Bobby as the cops. Bobby's trying to, do this whole thing, I can never make it as an actor. And that was funny the first time. Unfortunately, they went for it again. And they went for it again. It only worked the first time. Didn't work the other times. At least to me, it didn't. I did like the fact that it was set in 1985. They show some news clips, and they show Ronald Reagan talking about how great America is. May Ronald Reagan burn in hell for everything that he did, every horrible thing that he did. And he did a lot of horrible things. And if you don't agree, I don't care. But I did like how they went with the whole Puritan 2 thing, because the first Puritan had Lily Collins in it, and she was resurrected, and then Maxxxine being, the target of all this stuff, she ends up being the star of the whole thing by the end, because Lily Collins ends up getting killed. Everybody gets invited up to this party up in the hills at 166 Starlit Drive, fitting right there. There's even a part where Kevin Bacon is chasing her on a set. On various sets, there was a Psycho set. Well, they also used for Psycho 2, Electric, Why the Hell Did We Do This, Boogaloo. Actually, Psycho 2 wasn't awful, just wasn't great. But there was a point where, he's in the detective outfit. I thought we were going to get something where she was going to send him down the steps, and we were just going to go full on, we're talking about better movies, but we didn't get that. Giancarlo Esposito does, because he's her agent and her entertainment lawyer, so to speak, whatever. He ends up hiring or getting some people to help get Kevin Bacon off her back. After she gets her keys out, after Kevin Bacon basically threatens that he is going to expose her and that his client is going to expose her, she gets some keys in her hands and just is punching him. And in punching him, actually some pretty good stuff. And now he vows revenge. Well, the others end up getting him in his car after knocking him out, and they crush him. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll clean this up," Esposito says. We don't see them again after this. The one good scene in this, the one scene I really liked, was when a guy was pretending to be the killer and tried to get her, but she had a gun. So she basically threatened him, made him drop the knife, made him strip down his clothes. made him suck off the gun like that in an alleyway, and then made him lay down on the ground and then stepped on his balls with the goddamn heels. Now, that was pretty entertaining. It's a bit weird, but it was pretty entertaining. Moses Sumney's character I actually kind of liked at first, but I felt that he didn't get the best ending. This felt like it was the best, or it was parts of like better slashers, and they were paying homage to, you know, stuff that worked, and there were things that worked in this, but just something felt like it was missing. Something kept this from being the A+ grade that I thought it would be. Oh yes, and her dad basically was doing this to save her. Creates his own goddamn movie with these religious people here, kind of like the whole Puritan 2 set. He's trying to save her. Then the cops show up. We get a shootout with these weird cult guys. And then the dad somehow manages to kill Bobby Cavanaugh's character, or Kevin Vale's character. He's bleeding out. And there's a Hollywood sign. Oh, 30 years, I've never been here. And he touches the sign and he dies. And Michelle Monaghan dies because she gets a cross in the eye. I told you we get him. I guess apparently she shot him, evidently, but she got stabbed in the eye before and tumbles down the hill. And then they do this thing where she's staying over her dad. Her dad's like, I was trying to save you, but oh, I raised a monster. It goes back to the line, in this business, until you're known as a monster, you're not a star. Also goes back to what Elizabeth, and apparently they wanted Elizabeth to have the same name because they didn't think, I guess, that she was, into it enough to learn a new name, but I digress. Basically, she says, you have to cut everything out of your life and devote yourself to this work. The Hollywood setting sort of worked, but it also felt a little messy. While trying to expand upon it, it felt like they were stretching the story too thin. It was weird. I don't know. Maybe I was expecting something more like X and Pearl, and while there were good parts I liked, something was missing. Now, at the end, she's having this crazy thing where the helicopter's over her, telling her to drop the weapon. She has this premiere for the Puritan 2. Everything's going well. And then she blows her dad's head off in a funny way. And then 1 month later, she's got the Gino Hernandez special. She's sniffing, snorting. Gino Hernandez was still alive in 1985. If you don't know who Gino Hernandez is, Google that. And she basically says, you're a fucking movie star. And she's on the set. And I guess they're continuing to do the Puritan 2. I guess they just shut down production. The Night Stalker got caught. And I don't know. It worked. It worked, and I'm giving it a B+ for the stuff I liked. But it's like, it just didn't fully gel. And I'm disappointed to say that. So that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.